Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into this incredible ancient story that, believe it or not, holds a super simple guide to living a good life.
I mean, it's a question we all think about, right? Well, a long time ago, a wanderer named Mahāvacchasutta went right up to the Buddha and asked him pretty much the same thing. And the answer he got, it completely changed his life.
So our story kicks off with a really simple but honestly a really profound request.
Now, Vipassanā had been hanging around, debating philosophy with the Buddha for a while, and he finally just got tired of all the abstract talk. He basically said, look, no more long lectures. Just give me a clear, direct path that I can actually walk.
So the Buddha gave him exactly that, a map. And he didn't start with some complicated philosophy. Nope, he started with 3 simple roots that are behind everything we do. First, the Buddha defined what is unskillful, or in the Pali language, akusala. And you've got to pay attention to the word choice here. He doesn't say evil or sinful, he says unskillful. It's kind of like saying these actions just don't work. They don't get you the result you actually want, which is happiness.
Okay, so the first root is lobo, or greed. You know that feeling, right? That constant itch of, I need more, that grasping for things, for people, for status. It's that little voice that tells us we never, ever have quite enough.
The second root is doso, which is all about aversion or hate. This is the total opposite impulse. It's the get away from me, the anger, the resentment, all that energy we spend pushing away things we don't like.
And the third unskillful root is moho. This is delusion or ignorance. You can think of it like a dense fog that just stops us from seeing things clearly, from seeing reality as it is. It's the soil where greed and hate really love to grow.
So, if those are the roots of all our problems, what's the alternative? Well, the path to what is skillful, or kusala, is actually pretty straightforward. It's all about cultivating the exact opposites of those roots.
Now, this right here is the absolute core of the teaching, and it's a real game changer. See, it reframes ethics completely. It's not about memorizing a bunch of external rules. It's about internal training. You're actively replacing greed with generosity, hate with kindness, and that foggy delusion with clear wisdom.
And to make it even more practical, the Buddha laid out 10 specific unskillful actions that spring up from those 3 roots. You can totally see how every single one of these, from what we do to what we say, is fueled by either greed, hate, or delusion. The skillful path? It's simply not doing these 10 things.
Okay, so this all sounded pretty good to Vipassanā. It was clear, it was logical, but he was a practical guy. He was intrigued, for sure, but also a little skeptical. He wanted proof.
He was basically asking, look, this is a nice theory you've got here, but has anyone actually finished the race? Does this path really lead to the end of suffering? He needed to know if it was a reliable path that actually worked for real people.
And the Buddha's answer, it was just stunning. He said something like, Vipassanā, it's not just 100 of my monks, not 200, not 3, 4, or even 500. It is far, far more than that. We're talking hundreds and hundreds who had achieved full liberation.
Vipassanā was amazed, you can imagine, but he kept pushing. Okay, he's thinking, so the really dedicated full-time monks can pull it off. But what about everyone else? What about the nuns, or just regular people, men and women living normal lives out in the world?
And this slide shows it perfectly. For every single group he asked about, the Buddha gave the same answer. Not just 100, not 200, but far more than 500. This wasn't some exclusive club for the spiritual elite. This path was open and accessible to absolutely everyone. So hearing this overwhelming proof was the final push Vipassanā needed. He realized, whoa, this isn't just a philosophy, it's like a verifiable science of the mind, and he was ready to try the experiment himself. And his journey just lays it all out for us. First, he asked a simple, honest question. Then, he really, truly listened to the answer. That inspired him to join the community and actually put it all into practice. And you know what? In a pretty short time, he achieved the exact goal he had been asking about. So, here's the crucial point. The skeptic who walked in asking for proof ultimately became the living proof himself. His journey shows us that, understanding the map is great, but it's actually walking the path that leads to transformation.
And in the end, Vipassanā, who is now this fully awakened being, used this incredibly beautiful and powerful metaphor to describe the teaching.
He saw that the whole community practicing these teachings together was like a great river. And for anyone who sincerely just stepped onto this path, working to be skillful and letting go of the unskillful, the destination was certain. The current would inevitably carry you to the ocean of liberation, or nibbana.
And it's wild to think that this whole thing started with just one person who was brave enough to ask for simple, clear directions. He wasn't interested in fancy words. He just wanted a map. And what he got was a guide not just for him, but for any of us looking for a happier, more meaningful life.
So, what's the big takeaway here? I think it's this. Real transformation doesn't start with having all the answers. It starts with asking a simple, honest question. Vajrayogata's journey began with one, so what's yours?